Oh, it's definitely not just for us. I mean, we could just say, well, forget about everybody else. But that's not the case. I mean, we try to be good neighbors and good stewards of the land and even the water resources to try and keep them clean. You can only do so much, but I mean, if you can keep the cattle right out of the lake or out of the creek, it makes a big difference to the quality of the water.
Without the land, we don't have cows, we don't have crops, we have nothing. And to take care of the land, that's what it's all about.
Starting off, the most important thing a producer can do is start to implement best management practices. In terms of riparian areas, that usually means keeping the cattle out of the waterways, especially during certain times like spring when they can cause a lot of damage with their hooves by causing hummocking and soil erosion, and in the fall when the plants need to restore their energy into their roots. Having cattle out there and grazing isn't good for the plant life.
Conserving shorelines ensures their resiliency in times of flood and drought. By taking care of our shorelines now, more expensive restoration activities can be avoided in the future. Here are some steps to take when conserving a riparian area. Minimize the use of chemical products near water, such as pesticides and fertilizer. Allow natural debris to remain on the shoreline, like fallen trees, branches, and leaves. Debris provides shade, cooling down the area and creating safe habitat spaces for a wide variety of organisms. Avoid unnecessary removal of native vegetation, which strengthens shoreline banks and acts as a filter for the water body. Prevent cattle from directly entering the water body, utilizing fencing and off-site watering options. There are many funding opportunities available for both of these activities. Implement controlled rotational grazing to prevent overgrazing riparian areas.
We had a bit of a stretch where it was a little drier earlier this year. It was grazed down early and we thought, oh no, it's going to be terrible. But now you look there and there's grass 1.5 foot high, because the cattle have been off for a few weeks. Rotational grazing definitely helps manage that whole part of it.
Well, part of this project, we started the rotational grazing with it. And certainly we've noticed more grass and different grass. And we have more dragonflies and less mosquitoes. We've got way more pasture, than we used to have out here when we just, put them out here for 3 weeks and then over there for 2 weeks, right?
Specifically for grazing, it is important to spread livestock evenly to prevent overuse. Avoid grazing of the shoreline when vegetation is vulnerable to damage, such as during an extended drought or after a flood. Provide rest to allow regrowth during optimal growing conditions. For more information on grazing in riparian areas, look for the Caring for the Green Zone booklet provided by Cows and Fish.
By implementing best management practice, it really helps restore the land back to the way it is naturally. When it's in its natural state, it's providing those ecosystem goods and services such as, drought and flood mitigation and protecting from soil erosion and water filtration and habitat for wildlife.
Following these guidelines will ensure that riparian areas you interact with stay intact. However, if a shoreline is already damaged extensively, some restoration options are available. There are two primary methods to restore a shoreline, one of which is a passive approach, and the other is an active approach. Passive restoration involves letting the vegetative area regenerate by itself. This is the ideal method of restoration since it reduces impacts and allows the environment to recover with limited human interference. This low-cost method is only possible if the area is not yet overrun by non-native plant species. Otherwise, it may require human intervention to assist its recovery. Another route of restoration is more active. One recommended method of active restoration is to plant diverse native species that will help with issues currently affecting a water body. For example, the growth of different species of grasses and trees will contribute to better filtration for soluble nutrients, pesticides, and sediment. For concerns of erosion and flooding, consider growing grasses, trees, and shrubs with deep roots that can stabilize the shoreline.
With our ALICE program, one of the most popular type projects is fencing off riparian areas, whether that's along creeks, wetlands, or rivers. We've done all three, and putting in off-site waters. It just kind of makes sense to the producer to want to do that because when they put in off-site water, the cows aren't going to be using the natural waterway, which keeps them cleaner. It keeps the water cleaner for them to drink. It doesn't erode the soil so much, so there's more grazing opportunities. That's our most popular type of program. Oftentimes the producer will also want to restore a damaged riparian area, so we do some planting or grass seeding if it's required. Those kind of projects go hand in hand, putting in an off-site water, fencing off the riparian area, and doing reclamation at the same time.
In this area here, we planted a bunch of trees that flourish in moist conditions. They seem to have been successful. We're planning on doing more of that, trying to get more habitat to encourage wildlife, to encourage insects. One of the things that I learned growing up in a little town called Rumsey was the value of water. If you don't have access to water, you're pretty limited on what you can do. I learned at an early age how valuable water is. And I have a terrible feeling that a lot of people aren't going to understand that until they don't have it.